everyone, and welcome back. But if you're new here, I go by the name of Wingstar, and I just do random stuff on my channel. But today I'm going to discuss or talk about with you Nosferatu, which just came out in theaters Christmas Day 2024. Currently, the day that I'm actually getting around to reviewing this is January 2nd, 2025. And it was great. I really loved Nosferatu. I felt like it was a very cozy movie, and I'll try to explain that if I remember a little bit later on. But it really was. I feel like I was not disappointed. I rarely ever go out to the movies, but once a movie trailer kind of shows me that it has all the kind of atmospheric things that I like in a movie, which I feel like a lot of movies aren't. Like, I feel the atmosphere thing, Japanese horror movies do really, really well. But when it comes to American horror, like, usually there's, for the most part, what I've noticed, it's more like gore. And um, to me, it doesn't really do anything for me when I see like gory movies. But I do like a good tension, atmospheric story with a lot of folklore. There's definitely a lot of folklore in Nosferatu. And I've actually watched a lot of other people review the movie so far, and I'm not gonna go into like the storyline and whatever. I'm just gonna kind of talk about the things that I saw through my lens as someone who just likes vampires a lot, and I've been a big fan. I've loved, Interview with the Vampire is one of my favorite movies. And is there anything else with vampires that I like? I'm sure there's other movies, but that's like my favorite when it comes to just movies in general. I've always loved Interview with a Vampire. And as far as Nosferatu, I never even heard of it until I was listening to Howard Stern a long time ago, and he was talking about movies and how Nosferatu was like the scariest movie he's ever seen. And to me, when I think of Howard, I feel like he probably has like a high tolerance for like scary things or like disturbing things. So for him to say that it was the scariest movie he's ever seen, and it not that it used to be scary back in like 1922 when it first came out. Like he said, like still like it's the scariest movie. So um, I was like, all right, I gotta maybe check this out one day. And I just kind of kept it in the back of my mind, like, because I'm not really into watching, like, I think it's not just me. Like, it's hard to sometimes go back and watch older movies when you grow up with like a certain like level of movie or a style of movie. It's hard to go back to like silent era. But I recently, before I saw Nosferatu, I watched like maybe like the first act of, or maybe like the first, maybe not, let's not call it an act, maybe like the first 30 minutes or 15 minutes of the 1922 Nosferatu. And I was like, oh, it kind of kept my attention. And then I think something else like happened in the house. I couldn't finish the movie, and I kind of didn't want to either because I've never actually seen a full movie of Dracula. Even though I'm a big fan of Bela Lugosi, a lot of respect to Bela Lugosi, who played Dracula in like I think 1930 something. He's really cool, and I like Baja's song, Bela Lugosi's dead. But anyway, that's besides the point. I love, I just love vampire movies in general, and I was surprised that Nosferatu, the silent version in black and white, made me watch it for as long as it did. And the one scene from it that I remember from the 1922 version was when her husband, Ellen's husband, Thomas, brings her some flowers, some lilacs, and she's like, why did you kill these flowers? Instead of saying thank you, she's like, why'd you kill these flowers? And I think it spoke to like, she's probably like very sensitive. And also, not that she's not grateful, but it's kind of ungrateful not to say thank you. And also, she just probably really loves like things, like she's like very like precious about things, and she probably feels like her husband doesn't understand like her or something like that. I don't know. I feel like that's what I got out of that. And So that was like the big thing that I took out of the 1922 version. And then I went to go see Nosferatu 2024. And by the way, I know there's like a 1979 version, but I didn't watch that. I felt like it's too modern to watch before like another modern Nosferatu, even though that one, the other Nosferatu was like in 1979 or something. So anyway, I didn't see that version, just so you guys know. Watch the movie. First of all, I wanted to get the popcorn bucket, like the coffin bucket, but it was sold out. So, but I heard that it's coming back in stock. If you guys are looking for that popcorn bucket, it should be coming back in stock. I think you can buy it online or something. Anyway, it's like a coffin, like it's Nosferatu's coffin basically. That you can put stuff inside. And I'm a big fan of containers. If you guys know me, I love organizing in containers to an unhealthy extent because sometimes when we have too many containers, you get confused of what to put inside of them. But anyway, um, so I go to the movie, can't get the coffin popcorn bucket, but it's all right. I go to movie theater 13, and I think they did that on purpose. Like I think they do that with all like the spooky movies. I go in there and I sit down, and the movie started at 11:45. It was Sunday morning, 11:45. The movie, like the actual movie, didn't start until like 12:10, and I was like, wow, I forgot because since I barely ever go to the movies, I forgot how many commercials there are for other movies. I don't really remember any of the commercials either. Like they try to put in some like scarier movies to advertise, but nothing really stuck out except for like the unicorn movie, some kind of unicorn movie with Jenna Ortega. I saw that commercial or trailer, and it was all right. So anyway, the movie starts. It gets very dark, and you hear the little like music box sound. It's called Once Upon a Time. If you download the Nosferatu soundtrack, that's what it's called. And wow, I got very emotional. I started getting, because I guess I was like looking forward to it. So for it to start, and with, one of my favorite spooky devices in movies is using music boxes. It's not necessarily that music boxes are spooky, but they can be in the right atmosphere. It definitely set like a very spooky, mysterious atmosphere. And you see the opening scene is basically Ellen as a younger girl calling out to someone because she's like really lonely and she wants someone to talk to or someone to comfort her. She asks for a guardian angel, some celestial being. I think that's what she said. And then she gets met by none of those things. She gets met by a literal demon. And it kind of reminded me of like when you're on YouTube sometimes or on the internet in general. And I think sometimes people are lonely and they come here looking for like some kind of connection, a psychic connection, or someone to share thoughts and ideas with. But then they get met with demons, unfortunately. And I thought that was an interesting parallel. And I think I'm not even trying to be funny about it. Like, I think a lot of people are like more isolated than they used to be. So to hear that, it just kind of reminded me, like I could see a parallel. I saw something in reality, which is lonely people in the world. They go on the internet and then they get met by demons. But she really had they seem to have a real psychic connection, Nosferatu and Ellen. And I think that was her first love, probably. And then years later, like cuts to years later, and by the way, there are spoilers in this, so if you don't want to hear the spoilers, please don't listen because I can't like I'm gonna forget that word. I can't like divide my thoughts into spoiler and non-spoiler, so we're just gonna go with everything might be a spoiler. So just so you know, all right, you can click off. All right, if you're still here, let's get cozy. Let's drink some coffee. So it cuts to years later. She's married to a very nice husband who seems to have a good job. He's a real estate agent, and newlywed. He goes out, and his boss, who is kind of not a good guy, he's kind of working with Nosferatu a little bit there, making like little devil worship circles for Nosferatu. Um, well, his name is not Nosferatu, by the way. It's Count Orlok, but I keep referring him to Nosferatu. He is told by his boss he's got to go out to this place. And by the way, they're in Germany. This is like 1938. They're in Germany. He has to go out and to the Carpathian Mountains, which is basically Romania, I believe. And the boss is like, you're a newlywed. This is a great opportunity for you to get a higher promotion, like position in the company or something like that. So he's like, all right. But his wife is like, been suffering lately with these dreams. It's basically Count Orlok visiting her in her dreams and getting it on with her, I think, psychically. Or like feeding on her. I don't know. I don't even know if they ever really did it in the movie. I think maybe he was like feeding on her, but she seemed to enjoy it. Like she would like get into these like weird sessions where she looks like she's enjoying whatever it is she's experiencing psychically. It's kind of like, I guess it's kind of like phone sex or something. Like she's enjoying it, but he's not really there, but she can hear him and see him in her dreams. So that's kind of what's going on. But anyway, so he's going to go, but she had a bad dream about this. She's like, no, don't go. I had a bad omen. She saw people dying in her dream, like they're like closest people to them. And he's like, no, I got to go. And then I think it's his brother-in-law. Like I heard a lot of people say that. So basically he takes his wife, Thomas takes Ellen to his brother-in-law's house and he has a wife and kids. But I heard people saying, oh, it's his friend, but I don't think that's his friend. I thought they were like brothers, Thomas and this brother, which I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the brother. But apparently he's played by like a prominent actor, something Taylor something. And in real life, this guy that plays the other guy that they take the wife to so she can stay there while Thomas goes out, apparently he's dating. I saw a funny clip where they're saying like, oh, he brought Nosferatu to the movie premiere, this actor, because I think he's like early 30s or late 20s, and his wife is like 58. So a lot of people are upset about it because apparently he's like a really good looking actor, and they don't understand how he's getting with this like older lady that's not like that attractive anymore. I don't even know if she ever was. I never seen younger pictures of her, but anyway, that's besides the point. Let's go back to the Nosferatu. So he goes into to go meet up with Count Orlok, and he goes to a gypsy. I don't know if it's a gypsy village or just like a Romanian village. And this scene really stuck out to me because I'm Armenian. I'm first generation born in America, but like all my family's Armenian, and they came from Armenia. And like the level of hospitality they show this German dude walking into the village, like all the kids came out. I think it's like they have to do it, I think, like because hospitality is a big thing, especially in Eastern Europe. Like people pride themselves on how hospitable they are. So all the kids come out and they greet this foreigner, this German guy, which I know, like, I don't know if it's true, but they say like German culture is a little bit colder. They're not like touchy-feely kissing and stuff. Like they don't do that. But Eastern European cultures are like very like, I've heard like they're very warm. I know Armenians are, at least, and I'm sure probably Romanians are too. Tell me if I'm wrong. If you're Romanian, let me know. Or if you're German, let me know. If you guys are more like very like cuddly or whatever. So yeah, they like come out and they greet him and they like dance and they bring instruments out, but they look like very serious though. They're not really smiling. It almost looks like it's like a ritual. Like they have to do this. Like that's what they do. And then they hear he's gonna go meet with Count Orlok, and they're like, "What the hell?" Like I think everyone goes quiet and like, "What? Don't go meet Count Orlok." And then this older lady, which I thought was really cool. Like you see him walking into this little house, and this like lady, one older lady's like, she has like garlic and she's like putting it to the window to ward off the vampires. And so I like the superstition stuff. Like they have a lot of folklore and occult knowledge in this movie. It's really cool. And then this one older lady, she's like, "Don't go see Count Orlok. Don't do it." And then she goes, "Two, two, two." And if you guys don't know, 222, it's like kind of like to make it sound like you're spitting, and it's like kind of like to ward off bad energy or bad luck. And I know Armenians do it, and I think Greeks do it too. I didn't know Romanians also do that in their culture. So I guess it's like an Eastern European thing. But if you're not from like any of those cultures, you might like miss it. You'd be like, what was that sound? But she goes 222, and she makes the sign of the cross. So they're just hoping this guy doesn't go see Count Orlok, but he does. And what's really interesting, right after that scene, they have this naked girl on a horse, like kind of like as if they're gonna sacrifice her. Like this happens at night, and then they have a naked girl on a horse, and they go to this graveyard, and they open up a coffin, and they see a dead body, and they're like, I guess they're saying something like, "Oh, that's a vampire," and they stab it. And I guess they're like offering up, they're like, take this virgin girl or something to the vampire. Anyway, so they have a lot of folklore stuff, which I really appreciate as someone who's really into folklore. And my favorite video game, just to go off topic a little bit, is called Fatal Frame, and that literally is all like folklore stuff. So you find like journals, and it tells you like little stories and about like ancient rituals and sacrifices and legends. And if you're into that kind of stuff, you'll definitely like Nosferatu, I think. Okay. So anyway, after that, the next thing my mind jumps to is the cinematography in this film. It's literally like, I know a lot of other people have said this, but it really is like you're looking at art. Like every still shot looks like it could be a painting. It's just beautiful. Really, really beautiful. My favorite scene in it, like beauty wise and just like atmosphere wise, is when the horse and carriage comes. And I think in the 1922 version, Nosferatu is the one who comes and picks up Thomas. But in this version, there is no one with the with the horse carriage. It's just coming on its own. And you just have to see it and experience it. And I'm really happy I went to a movie theater and I experienced that in the movie theater, because with the sound and the lack of sound at some points, and the movie looks like it's in black and white, but I heard that they use some sort of like special lens that was created just for this movie that only lets in like blue light or blue colors. And it gives it effect that it's in black and white, but it's not. It's just very super muted and very like bluish, which adds to the dreamlike quality to it, which is really beautiful. And Robert Eggers, I know he's really into, I mean, he makes very beautiful movies, even on really like low budgets like he had for The Witch, which is a really good movie, by the way. It's really dark and creepy. I don't think I could watch it again, but it was very... like, it's the kind of movie I really appreciate. Anyway, yeah, the carriage scene, that was really cool. When you see it, you'll know. I can't really explain anything else about it, which is really, it had the best atmosphere and mood. And then he goes to Count Orlok's castle, and he's got the great, I like how the door opens, and like I like how like the entrances, like you'll notice like the arches, they kind of look like coffins. So like when Thomas leaves Ellen and goes to Romania or whatever to see Count Orlok, he literally like rides off into an arch shape that's like a coffin, and it's kind of like foreshadowing that he's gonna die. But he doesn't die. Not him anyway. But yeah, and then like when he goes to visit Count Orlok, it's also kind of like an arch shape, the doors. And the door opens on its own once he gets to the castle. And Count Orlok's just like really like off in the distance. You can't see him. He's like just a shadow silhouette. And he's really far away. But the door like slowly opens and you see his shadow like far away. And he doesn't say anything. He just like starts walking, and then Thomas just starts walking after him. And you know, that was interesting. I liked the whole castle scene was amazing too. I love that. Very creepy. I loved Count Orlok's accent. It was good. I'm not gonna go in too much into that though. What else did I want to talk about? So the flowers. So you'll notice in the movie that they use lilacs, and in the Victorian era, which is where this is taking place, 1838, Queen Victoria is the queen of the British Empire. So we all follow what she likes to do. And, like they're really kind of repressed back then. They couldn't really ever say their true feelings or like what they intend directly, especially women. So a lot of the times women would use flowers to express their feelings, or even like where they place a flower. Like if a guy like gave them a flower, or they gave someone like a guy a flower and they put it like on their sleeve, it's like, hell no, I'm not into you. But if they put it near their heart, hell yeah, I'm into you. Let's go on a date. Something like that. It's like the language of flowers. I think there's a book on it. I've never read it, but there's definitely like a whole language of flowers and flower meanings. And with lilacs, they do represent innocence and purity, but I heard they also represent death. And you'll notice that in the movie, like the flowers that her husband gives to her, they're lilacs. At the end, they spread lilacs all over them. So I thought that was an interesting point, and I appreciate that because I love flowers. I love plants too. Sometimes I don't know if I like plants or flowers more, but they're both awesome. Another thing I noticed in the movies, this is like a random thing. By the way, I love the dresses. The dresses in the movie, the outfits, especially the dresses, I love so much. They're so pretty. But I love Victorian era in general. That's always been like an era that I love. When I watch like movies, I like when they're in the Victorian era, kind of like, well, Titanic was Edwardian, but Crimson Peak, I believe that's Victorian or at the end of Victorian era, just starting in Edwardian. I don't know. But they all have those like nice costumes and dresses. Um, but aside from the dresses, I noticed like when the girls are sleeping, like when Ellen sleeps and also her friend, they leave their hair down, which I actually researched, and I don't think people wear their hair down in Victorian era, but some do. The only like time people like women would let their hair down is in their bedroom, and the only person who would see them with their hair down would be their spouse or their significant other or whatever. So, yeah, I thought that was interesting cuz me personally, I can never wear my hair down when I'm sleeping. Like that to me sounds like torture. Like cuz like when you're sleeping, like I don't know, you just want to feel like light. When your hair is down, I don't know, it makes you feel like heavier and like something's on you, and you don't want that. I don't know. So I thought that was an interesting detail. Um, and I think I got through everything. The only other thing I would say that in general, I think and a lot of other people have said this too, that this movie is about repressed desires, and like being too polite as well. Like Thomas, when he went to Count Orlok's castle, he kept wanting to leave, but like he was like too polite to leave the castle. So, so that kind of teaches you like you should like not be too polite. If something's bothering you, you need to stand up for yourself and be like, no, I'm leaving the castle, Count Orlok. Um, but that's how it was in Victoria. Like they all like worried about being too polite. And I noticed in Japanese culture too, like they also like are super super polite to the point where they suffer, and they like they put their feelings or like their needs second, and then like they try to appease everyone else, but it's not always good. I think there's even a movie about being too polite, and it usually ends in the person who's being too polite's demise. And it also kind of reminds me, like, because I've always had some issues about like talking about how I feel about things, or like, I try to be strategic about it. Maybe it's me being more strategic. Like, you don't always want to say like how you feel about everything. Sometimes you kind of have to lay back and let people talk and see what they're what they're saying before you say anything. But my dad would always get really mad at me and say like, you have a tongue, you need to use it. Like in Armenian, like lezu, which means tongue, that just means like speaking. So you have to like speak up for yourself. Basically, that's what my dad always kind of pushed me to do. But I was always afraid. I'm like, what if this happens if I say something? So the movie kind of made me think about all these like random things. Not random things, these are interesting things. YouTube dating, yeah. When you're calling out to random entities, sometimes bad people pop up. So YouTube dating, Nosferatu, I think they also kind of go together. Anyway, that's really all I had to say. Like, I'm not really interested in talking about the plot or anything like else about the movie. This is more of like a cultural observation, folklore, and psychological, and some historical things. So I hope you enjoyed it. And I give Nosferatu a 10 out of 10. I definitely will want to see it again. I don't know if I'll go to the theater again. I would like to, but I don't think I will. I'll definitely buy the movie when it comes out, when it starts streaming, and I'll watch it again. And I hope you get a chance to see it if you haven't already. All right, thank you for watching. Bye-bye. Oh, and I also wanted to talk just really briefly about Nosferatu, Count Orlok's outfit and his character design. I liked it a lot. I think he looked like a vampire. He looked like Vlad the Impaler, who, if you guys don't know, is or was the leader of Romania. He fought off the Ottomans, and he's one of the only leaders to ever really fight off the Ottomans that well and like preserve the Romanian culture. As someone who is of Armenian descent, I know about the Ottomans, and we kind of lived okay side by side for a while, but they were really into like conquering and defeating people who were not Muslim. They would kill a lot of Christians, and I think, from what I've heard, that the Ottomans killed Vlad the Impaler's family, or I forgot who they killed exactly, but that's what I heard another creator mention. And I was like, hey, that Armenians also were killed by the Ottomans, so we have that in common with Dracula or Vlad the Impaler or whatever. So I thought that was interesting. And Vlad kind of went a little overboard with his killing, and he has a whole history, and you can make a whole video on him alone. But his outfit was really interesting too, because he had like these really long sleeves, and I heard back in the day, if you want to show that you're really rich, just make really long sleeves, because you have so much money that you can have like extra material on your sleeves. So I thought that was really cool. All right, I'm done. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.